Today's video contains the best new movie I have seen all year long. Hi guys, and welcome to another batch of mini reviews. These videos are basically where I review 7 films in the time that it would normally take me to review just one. And let me tell you, this is probably the best collection of this type that I've ever put together. Normally when I do one of these, there's always at least one film that gets 1 out of 5 or 1.5 out of 5, and I might call it my stinker of the week. But I can't do that today because every one of these 7 films has scored a bare minimum of 3 out of 5. I must have been really lucky over the past few weeks in terms of deciding what new films to watch. And like I said in the intro, one of these films today is bloody brilliant. I can't wait to get to talking about that one. But as normal, I'll take the reviews in the exact order in which I saw the movies, which means we will begin with this one. Infinity Pool is about a holidaying couple at an island resort, and they're a little bit bored of their holiday, and they end up befriending some other people who introduce them to a new kind of lifestyle, shall we say. It's definitely against the law, and it's also a little bit supernatural in nature. And I don't want to give away exactly what's going on here because this is the sort of film that you should discover for yourself when you're watching it. But the supernatural side to this film is probably the most disappointing part of it. I think if that had been taken out and this had been a more grounded, real type of thriller, I think I probably would have scored this even higher. But where this film does score points is just how stylish it looks. It's directed by Brendan Cronenberg, son of David. I've never really come across that many of David Cronenberg's films, I must admit. Did he do The Fly? That might be the only one. And this is the first time I've come across his son as well, but clearly a guy with a lot of talent, even if the story doesn't quite work for me. The film looks absolutely gorgeous. The final scene in particular, with the one character we've got, and as the rain's coming down, it was just my enduring image of this film. I love the way this film ends. And Infinity Pool definitely has an anything can happen feel about it, and I love that about movies. When movies can generate that kind of feel, that's definitely another way that a film can score points. But I'm kind of mixed overall. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. It was just the supernatural side of the story that they've gone for that didn't quite work for me, or otherwise it might have done even better. Ghost Ship is a film that I'd been meaning to see for about 21 years, and the other week I finally got around to it. But it begins with these 1990s style credits that just made me think, oh, is this going to be really tame? No sooner had I thought that, I was then given one of the most brutal, nastiest horror scenes I think I've ever seen, ever. So there's like 100 people on the deck of a ship, and a cable comes dislodged and whips across the deck, just slices all these people in half, and the camera is right up close and personal, showing us every last gruesome detail of this. Torsos are getting ripped in half. It's really, really violent, and I was like, whoa, what the hell kind of film have I stumbled into here? I mean, the film calms down after that. That's just like the big marquee moment just to kind of pique your interest, but yeah, it was kind of like, whoa, what the hell? So these murders, because I think the cable was released deliberately, we find out later, this causes the ship to become like a ghost ship just floating in the middle of nowhere. And then in modern times, we follow a group of scavengers who they turn up at this ship looking to kind of, raid the coffers for whatever might be in the vault or whatever. There's about 7, 8 of them possibly. But the ship is now haunted. So these people, our protagonists, they start getting picked off one by one throughout the movie. But there's a really good atmosphere to this. The production design on the ship is good. I think there was a decent budget for this. You can tell that with the actors they've chosen. Gabriel Byrne is in this. He's always good, but he's particularly good in this. It was fun to see him in a film for the first time in a while for me. And there are several other recognisable names. I can't think of them all right now, but certainly I think most people who watch a lot of movies will definitely recognise quite a few people in this. Desmond Harrington, he's in it. My only grievance with Ghost Ship is it's kind of rushed towards the end. It's like the director thought, oh crap, we've got to 1 hour, 20 minutes, we'll have to really speed through the last 5 minutes. And I think a bit more care and attention would have done this film a lot of good towards the end. Plus, there's like a one last jump scare type moment, which makes no sense really. And they could have just taken that out. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I do like horror at sea, horror on ghostly abandoned ships, and this one worked quite well for me. 4 out of 5. This is a film that I randomly watched on YouTube for free one Sunday afternoon, bizarrely. It's an Italian giallo, but there are subtitles if you don't speak Italian. It's about a group of people who randomly end up at this abandoned mansion in the middle of nowhere, right next to a graveyard, conveniently, just for extra spooks and horror. And somebody's knocking off these people one by one. The kills aren't very inventive in this, I'll warn you now. Most people in this film get shot when they die. But it does have a nice atmosphere, and I think my favourite thing about the movie is the soundtrack. There's like a theme tune that plays every now and again throughout this, usually when somebody's in great peril. And as part of this tune, there's like a woman's cackle. It's like, and it's just part of the theme tune that's playing. It's really funny. I was laughing every time it came on, but this is a fun little film. I might forget about this like a year from now, but if you just want a quick movie to watch on YouTube, this is only about 80 minutes long. You could certainly do worse than this. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. The tank in this instance is not an army tank, so if you've got images in your head of like a zombified Hitler driving a supernatural tank, forget it. The tank in this film is actually a water tank. So what happens in this, there's like a family, and the father of the family inherits a house from his dead mother. But this house is all the way over in Oregon on the coast. So he takes his family out there, and this house is in the back of beyond. It's a really quaint little house. It's like something out of a Beatrix Potter novel. You have to take this windy path to get to it in the woods. And then once the family get there, they can see that the house is like covered in branches. No one's been here for ages. And once they get inside, it's like a really old school type cottage, like something you might read about in a Famous Five book or something like that. I loved the build-up in this film, the long, slow build-up, the atmosphere, the location is great. I don't know if they were filming in Oregon or not, but the movie looks fantastic. But it turns out that in the water tank next to the house, which is a very large water tank, by the way, I've never seen anything like it personally, there are creatures living in this thing. There's like subterranean underground tunnels connected to the tank, and the creatures are getting to and from the tank from underground somewhere. Hard to describe the creatures, in all honesty. I'll leave that for you to discover. They're very fictional. They're nothing I've ever seen before. And I guess the horror part of this film is the slightly weaker half of the whole thing, which might worry some people, but it's still decent. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. I enjoyed this. In fact, you know what? No, I'll stick on 3.5. I was tempted to go to 4, but I think 3.5 is fair. This is a film that's on Shudder, so if you've got Shudder, definitely want to put on your to watch list, if such a thing exists. I don't know. So we finally arrived at that 5 out of 5 incredible film that I hinted we would come to. Influencer was a massive surprise to me. I discovered it on Shudder just last week, and wow, what a movie. So this is about a young woman. I guess she's an Instagrammer, an influencer. What she does is she goes around the world posting videos about the latest exotic food she's eaten, the latest fancy hotel she stayed at. To me and you, that might seem like she's living the dream, but actually off camera, she's getting a little bit bored about this. She's very homesick. She misses her boyfriend. But then she meets this other young woman who agrees to show her some places in Thailand that she might not have thought to see. I don't think it's just in Thailand, this film. It's a little bit ambiguous. It might be other places in and around Thailand, but I'm a little bit unclear about that, but it doesn't matter. But this film is just phenomenally good. Like I'm not going to give away any more about the plot. I think you should go into this blind for the most part, but all the unexpected avenues the story goes down are just so satisfying, and you totally cannot predict what's going to happen next. It's remarkable. I just loved this from the minute it started till the minute it ended. It's got an incredible villain, and one of the best villains I've seen in any film for years. Like, I could write a thesis about this villain, and the film looks so good. I mean, one of the most glamorous looking films I've ever seen. I remember thinking after about 15 minutes, okay, so if the rest of the movie turns out to be shit, at least I've enjoyed having my eyes pop out of my skull for the first 15 minutes, because the travelogue feel of it, like we go to so many incredible looking places, it's unreal. Soundtrack's good as well. There's literally some tunes on this film that I've already added to my YouTube favourites list in terms of what music I listen to. Performances are decent, and just the way that the film is directed, it's just so exciting. Like I could feel my heart like thumping in my chest at this film all the way through as well, not just in certain moments. And I was nervous for like all the characters. I was nervous for bad characters. I was nervous for good characters. That doesn't normally happen. Normally, even if you are a little bit nervous for certain people in horror movies, it's just for like maybe one person or just the people on the good side maybe. But yeah, this movie was great. I absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5. Definitely needs to be checked out by anybody who might be watching this feed. From the directors who brought you The Zombie Diaries and The Zombie Diaries 2, two of the most underrated zombie films ever made in my opinion, comes this new paranormal, well, it's not new, Paranormal Diaries has been out for quite a few years I think, but I think it came out after the Zombie Diaries films, I think. So this is a kind of homage to all those paranormal investigation TV shows, things like Most Haunted and Ghost Hunters, you know, where a group of people go to a supposedly haunted location, in this instance an old abandoned church, and they'll set up loads of equipment and try and catch the ghosts in the act throughout the course of one night or 3 nights, as it is in this movie. How much you enjoy Paranormal Diaries, therefore, I think will likely come down to whether you like those types of TV shows, because this feels like one of those shows for most of it, and then towards the end we get a few more things happening that's fictional, but not quite enough to turn it into a film like, what was that one from the Asylum that's set in America? Grave Encounters, really brilliant film, sort of a similar thing that, but Grave Encounters definitely just goes straight into the fictional a lot quicker, whereas Paranormal Diaries keeps things realistic for the most part. Me personally, I like the type of TV shows that this film is aping. You know, I'm a massive fan of Ghost Adventures on Discovery Channel with Zac, I was going to say Efron then, that's not right, Zac somebody, but I like that show a lot. I used to really like Destination Truth with Josh Gates, and I've seen plenty of episodes of Ghost Hunters over the years. It's a type of TV show that I personally really like, so therefore I was able to quite get into this film. The main actor, I think his name's Craig Stovin, and there's a moment in this towards the end that threatens to get a little bit like Kill List, and I think the sight of Craig Stovin turning around and bolting back into the woods, doing this awkward little stumbly run thing that he does with this stupid hat on, I think that might be my most enduring image that I took away from this film. Michael Bartlett himself, the director, or one of the 2 directors, I think Kevin Gates is on this film with him. He's in this film as one of the actors, and he's gazing off into the trees at points, perhaps begging for something Blair Witchy to come out of the trees and do his job for him. But overall, I liked this. It's got a really nice atmosphere. It takes place in Hertfordshire. If you don't know, that's like a little area. Well, it's not a little area, but it's just sort of northwest of London. It's a county, and it's based upon a real place, this, Clophill. The actual church, I did a little bit of reading on Wikipedia. It is based upon a real church that perhaps does have its own genuine local myths and stuff, but it's decent. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 just because I like this type of thing, but if you're not into things like Ghost Hunters, that score might drop to a 2. For anyone who hasn't made it this far in the video, they are missing out, because our final film today, Bunker 717, is a superb film. This is another Shudder one. Incidentally, that film that I was just talking about, Paranormal Diaries, that's available on Amazon Prime. I'm going to have to remember to keep pointing out what platforms these films are available on. But this is another Shudder one, and it's brilliant. It takes place in the catacombs beneath Paris. I've seen a number of good films use this as a horror location. As Above, So Below is the best, but there's also a film that's actually called Catacombs that was pretty decent as well. So I guess this is the 3rd film I've seen, the 3rd horror film set in the Paris catacombs. So we've got a group of people here who go on an unofficial tour of the catacombs, an under the table kind of deal that's, you know, so they can be shown certain out of the way scary locations that other people might not have been to before. And they end up coming across a bunker that that's like deep down beneath the ground. It's like an abandoned World War II bunker that the Nazis were using when they occupied Paris. And I'm not going to spoil any more than that. I'm not going to tell you what the horror is in this movie. Just discover it for yourself. But there's a fantastic build-up in this as we follow the characters just getting deeper and deeper. And all the way through, I'm thinking, God, how could you even find your way back to the surface from where they are? You know, there's a real claustrophobic feel about this film that I really like. It's got an absolutely hilarious kill, or a group of kills. So like a group of skinheads get killed in this one scene, and the circumstances of their deaths is just so funny. It was a real standout moment for me. The only bad thing about this one is the last couple of seconds before the end credits, we get one of those stupid one last scare moments, but it was a stupid decision, and it doesn't actually make any sense when you think about it. But apart from that, really great film. I really enjoyed it a lot. It's one of those films that has a different title depending on what region you're in, but if you start out your Google search by typing Bunker 717, you'll find your way. I'm going to give this one 4 out of 5, and it does bring us to the end of today's video. So just to recap, Influencer, the best film of the bunch with 5 out of 5, and we don't have a stinker of the week because literally every single film today met the bare minimum threshold of 3 out of 5. Right, I'll be back soon to do another video like this, but until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.